Hey, hello everybody. I'm Greg Storch, and I want to welcome you to the weekly Roar. This week, I continue the growth series, but I have a very special guest with me today to talk about the law of the rubber band. But first, before we get into this law today, I'm Greg Storch. I'm the founder of Lion Enterprise. It's a leadership development and coaching business. And I am happy that you're joining me for this growth series. We kicked off 2019 talking about the 15 invaluable laws of growth. Now, last week, I was speaking with David McGlennon about the law of the ladder, and he had tons to say about how important it is that we develop our character as a strong foundation of our growth. If you didn't catch it, don't worry about it. You can go to my website, www.lion-enterprise.com. Go to the top of the page. You'll find the Lion's Pride Library at the top. Click there. David's video's number 45, and you can check. No, actually, he's number 46. Check out his video, tune in, and this week I'm talking with Jillian Anderson as we continue this growth series. We're talking today about the law of the rubber band. Growth stops when you lose that tension between where you are and where you could be. So Jillian is here. She is a fellow speaker, coach, trainer. She's a consultant and an entrepreneur, just like me. She is the CEO of Jill Ann Anderson and Associates. She is the creative director with the John Maxwell Team. And of course, she's a certified professional coach. And Jill, that's something else we have in common. We both graduated from the IPEC program, which is amazing. I just learned that about you. So awesome. So Jill Ann, thank you so much and welcome to the Weekly Roar.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to be on with you today. I love talking anything personal growth. So, hey, yes. Right? I mean, yes. Who doesn't?
I know. Me too. Me too. I'm ecstatic to have you with me today. You know, I was telling you about 2 years ago, I was prepping for one of my first masterminds, and it was on the 15 laws. And I was looking for videos to share with my participants. And that's when I ran across your video on Vimeo from 2016. And it was about the law of the rubber band. And I was just so inspired, not only by your content, but your energy in the delivery on that video. It was just like 1 minute and 5 seconds, but it was captivating. Yeah. And it really was a great little spot on what this law is all about. So I like starting these discussions with my guests by having them share a little bit about their personal growth journey. So if you wouldn't mind, why don't you kick us off and share a little bit about your growth journey with us?
Well, you know, thank you so much. That video was so fun to make because it is such a, and I believe this law, the law of the rubber band it's one of those that is so simple, right? For people to understand, because haven't we all used a rubber band? And the analogy that I used in that video, I'm hoping my memory sparks me correctly here. But the whole point, which I loved about the rubber band video and the concept of it is there's one unique feature of a rubber band.
That's right.
And when I believe when I was on the video, I was like, hey, do you know what one thing is really super unique about a rubber band? And then what I then go on to tell the viewers is that a rubber band is really useful unless it stretches, right? Mm-hmm. So in order to use a rubber band and have it be useful for you, you have to stretch it. You have to make it stretch and get bigger or change in order to have it become useful. And I just love that concept. And it is a perfect explanation for how my growth journey started. I was in an unhappy marriage. I was in an unhappy career. I thought that I had finally reached a place in my life where I thought I should be happy because I had achieved all of these things. And I would wake up every morning and look in the mirror and go, is this all there is? And I didn't know how to get to the next step. And one day I was sitting in my office at work. I was a forensic psychological examiner. And so it was my job to go to correctional facilities and do psych evaluations on inmates. And I was sitting outside. I was sitting actually outside when I first got the first stretch to grow signal. And it was, for me, I was sitting there and I was looking at the correctional facility and the barbed wire fence that I had to go through again. And I had been imagining the doors that I would have to walk through and have them slam behind me and get locked shut. And I was sitting there quiet, like trying to get myself into a good place because I didn't want to go in there again. And I just heard this, knock, 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 Jill. And it was, I know it was from God, and it was, you're not done yet. Like, this isn't it for you.
Wow.
And of course, like most people, I completely ignored it. I went, oh, okay, I'm going to get on with my day and I'm going to do my work. Right.
Yep.
And it hit me again when I got into the examination room for the criminal and he was brought in. It was just like, you're not done yet. This isn't where you're going to be and what you're going to just rest on. And it was shortly after that I joined the John Maxwell team and went to my first certification conference. And boy, oh boy, was I stretched out of my comfort unlike anything I had ever experienced. It was challenging. And at the same time, it was this beautiful awareness of I have to do this in a good way and in a hard way.
Yeah.
I knew that I had to take another step forward into this extremely uncomfortable place, but it was this really weird, deep knowing that I had never experienced before of this is the right thing to do. It's not going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really uncomfortable. And this is going to just make you take leaps and bounds forward in your life. I mean, I had never experienced anything like that before. And so to be able to be in this instant awareness of that law that I knew at that time, I had no idea that there was even a law of the rubber band in John's 15 Laws of Growth book. I didn't know that, right?
Right.
And I'd read a few John Maxwell books and knew him. I was there for a business, right? They had lots of curriculum that was available to me, and I was there for business, not to grow myself. And so when that hit me of, I am really comfortable and I need this like I've never needed something more in my life. And that was awesome. So that was really what set my growth journey on fire.
Awesome. I love it. Like most of the John Maxwell team members, that first time at IMC really sets you on that path. So you're exactly right. This law is all about stretching ourselves to spark that growth. And it's got a lot to do with about getting out of our comfort zone. So Jillian, I thought we would center our chat a little bit around the importance of creating tension. And one of the first things that John Maxwell tells us is that few people actually want to stretch. So my question is, what was it that drove you not to settle for mediocrity? Or let's see, let me rephrase it in this way. What drives you to continue striving to reach your full potential?
What drives me is I like the word that you use, that few people like to have tension, right?
Yeah.
That when we think about growing, we feel this tension and this tightness or struggle, or it has this negative connotation to it. What I like to share with people is that add an I and an N before tension. It's intention. You must be intentional, intention with your growth. Then you won't be in tension. Does that make sense?
I love
I think
that.
it's the point of when we're not intentional with our growth. Typically, it's something that we may not be choosing to do. I think about, I got pregnant at 17. I was a teen mom. Before becoming a teen mom, you got your own,
TV show.
That baby is 33 years old now. So
Wow.
when I think about being a baby, caused tension in my life. And I grew from that, right? But it wasn't a tension that I chose. Yes, I grew from it. Now I have learned that I am intentional about my growth, and therefore it does not cause as much tension in terms of my own health and well-being. It, yes, stretches me. And I also look forward to that stretch. It's, whoa, I am intentional about this. I was intentional about this thing that I chose 2 months ago, and I beat that goal that I had set for myself. Now, where would I be if I would have reached even farther? Yeah. Right? I think John says in this book too, I think it's this book, that most people aim too low and hit instead of aiming too high and missing. And that's exactly, I think that quote of his fits so well with this law. The more we stretch ourselves, the bigger growth we're going to have.
Yes. Wow. I love that.
It was not, it's being able to say, I'm not going to settle for mediocrity anymore, because we weren't created to be mediocre. Yes. And I firmly believe that every single person on this earth, everybody that will be listening to this, will at some point in their life have felt that spiritual beingness of more being called to them by our Creator, that we were created to create. We're never done. Yeah. So when we settle for mediocrity, we're not fulfilling our call on this earth.
Wow.
And that causes more pain within us. That's suffering, right? That is when we begin to start experiencing suffering in our life, where day in and out we're on the hamster wheel of life and we're not moving forward. We're in this nonstop Groundhog's Day, and there's this deep inner needing and knowing within us to fulfill that unlimited potential that we have.
I love it. So, folks, for those of you that are watching this, whether you're watching live or you're catching this on the replay, Jillian just said it beautifully. If you think that getting out of your comfort zone's uncomfortable, you ought to try missing your calling and reaching your full potential. That's just downright painful. So, Jillian, yes, as a certified professional coach with IPEC and even a coach with the John Maxwell Team, I wanted to talk into, why you may believe it's easier for people to settle for the status quo or to stay in their comfort zone.
I think that it is, fear is such an easy answer that I'm just I tend to be a little bit of a rebel. I think fear is one of those things, especially in the personal growth industry, because it's like, oh, fear is the big word. And I think what I have learned through my certification and my education with IPEC and the John Maxwell Team, and heck, even my formal education in psychology is, I really think it's our ego. It's our other than conscious mind that we begin to get programmed to fit into, quote unquote, this world from the moment we're born. I believe we're born absolutely sheer perfect human beings, and we get dropped into this crazy world where we instantly start becoming programmed. So it's that programming that we all got that stops us from moving forward and fulfilling more of our potential. We can label it fear. My experience is, Greg, and you can probably talk on this. This would be a show in and of itself, is our goal as a coach is always to get under the fear.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yes, you're afraid, but why or what is making you afraid? That's the true work that we need to do with our clients. And what I strive to do with mine is, okay, great, you're afraid. Let's move on. Let's get at why you're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
What were you programmed to believe? For me, it was, I wasn't my worthiness. I wasn't good enough.
Right.
I always had to please, perfect, and perform for my parents. And even when I did that, it wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I would think about whatever it was that I was going to go after, it was always attached to my worthiness. And so when I started doing that deep work of just going, fear, whatever. Fear to me is just another label that we give the deep work that we all need to do. Just get beyond that and start working on what is the stuff underneath our fear. And when we do that, oh my goodness, that's our full resourcefulness, that we're all born fully resourced to be and do and have and give whatever it is we can imagine and dream of. So I'm just on that mission to help people discover that.
Yeah.
And that is what helps us move forward.
Wow. I love your take on that, because you're right. Like, so many people are becoming aware of the term fear, but I love that you're digging down a little deeper and talking about these lenses, right, that we all view our lives through. And that comes from our conditioning and our upbringing and, our families and where we were raised and who we were raised by. And so, yeah, I love that you take your clients on that journey to go beyond the word fear to find out really what's causing those. How are you viewing your world? What lenses are you wearing, so to speak?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's another great way to put it is, I always tell my clients, you're coming to me in all truthfulness and authenticity. We are sitting here and you have sunglasses on. You aren't seeing the world through a clear lens. And our work together is to get those sunglasses removed, and you can see all of the opportunity in front of you in a clear state of being.
Yeah, exactly. Last week when I spoke with David McGlennon, he reminded me of that exercise we do in John Maxwell, where we have the beach ball and the view.
Yeah.
It's the same beach ball, right, that we're all looking at, but we're all seeing a different color. Right. So
exactly.
Same thing. So thanks. That was awesome. I think you might agree that, our situation in life has a lot to do with the choices we make and the actions that we take or don't take towards something. So there's a lot of people out there who have these huge dreams, but they're just simply not taking actions to pursue them. So what's your big dream? What's your burning desire? And how did you overcome the obstacles that were trying to stop you from pursuing that big dream?
So my big dream about 2 years ago was to begin to transform my business from this big ego Jill state. We're going to get real now, Greg, here, because you asked a really good question.
Love it.
Because 2 years ago, my husband asked me for a divorce, and it was somewhat of a surprise and somewhat not. And I heard, I was absolutely devastated. It wasn't my first marriage. And I thought that this one, I was done. I had found him, and we were going to live, we're going to live this great life. And I had built my John Maxwell Team business. It was so flipping successful. I had 22 facilitators working with me. We were going gangbusters. I was filling a theater in my hometown for women who live to lead. I was one of the John Maxwell coaches, the first coach to ever hold a women's only live to lead leadership presentation. So I was just, my life couldn't have been greater, or so I thought. And then my husband drops the bomb on me, and because of the complexity of our marital assets, we had to have forensic examiners in accounting comb through all of our stuff, and that process took about a year. And in January of, I remember this date clearly, January 12th of 2018, we came to our final settlement. We were getting along. We weren't fighting or anything. We just came into this full acceptance that this is what we needed to do, and had our divorce settlement. We just needed to have it go through the court system. And so my husband's attorney said, listen, I'll take care of it. And we left. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm almost divorced. And on January 26th, just about 2 weeks later, right, I got a phone call from Maui, Hawaii Police Department telling me that my husband had drowned in a snorkeling accident in Maui, Hawaii.
Oh my God.
Talk about the rug being pulled from underneath you yet again. So, here I took this really scary journey of joining the John Maxwell Team. I literally quit my job as a forensic psychological examiner, that leap, then built my business. Then when I thought I was going to be, doing that, I still wasn't done, and going through this complicated divorce. My family is in, we're all just like, and then that happened.
Oh my God.
And so, I was then, turned from an almost divorced person to a widow, and because we were still married, I was the one who got the phone call and had to make the phone calls to everybody else. And I was completely unprepared, obviously, for that. And, then in September, my father passed away. So I think my point of it is what I'm learning, Greg, is that I don't think we overcome anything.
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of working through things. Sometimes there were some days in that process where I knew I was growing, and it was a very complicated way to grow, and it wasn't an intentional way to grow. And that's also sometimes what life hands us when we're in the human world, right? We're these spiritual beings living in this human world. And sometimes that gets the best of us too. And no matter how hard we try to be intentional with our growth, sometimes stuff is handed to us that is completely unexpected. It throws us into the storm of life, and it's our job to work through the storms and not just duck and hope for the best.
Right.
It's actually discovering more of what is emerging within us as we work through those challenges. And so 2 years ago, when my husband asked me for a divorce, God said, "You got to take a time out, Jill. You're kind of going a little bit crazy here. Like, you built this great business and everything, but I'm not so sure that's what I wanted you to do either, and had planned for you."
Right.
And I was kind of perplexed because I thought, well, I'm doing really good work, right? Really good work. And so I literally quit my business and took what I call a spiritual sabbatical. Spent the better part of the year in my lake home, by myself. I shut off the TV. I shut my cell phone off for the majority of the time. I literally went into this spiritual seclusion, and it was, now I told you all that stuff that happened because most people go, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
The hardest, do you want to know what the hardest part of all of that journey was? It was sitting alone in my lake home in sheer quiet with else but me and God, figuring stuff out.
Wow.
And that was, listen, I can't even begin to tell you how hard that process was. And I know that there was a purpose for that process, because that was preparing me for what was to come.
Wow.
I honestly believe that if I wouldn't have taken that spiritual sabbatical and not listened to the will of God, that knock again in my life, you and I wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah.
At all. I know I wouldn't. It was a 1-2, and then my dad passing away. It was just one thing after another. And, there is always a purpose for the storms in our life. And sometimes for me, what I discovered was that, number one, ego was that way of the work that I was supposed to be doing. My business got to a point where I was just going gangbusters. And I quite frankly, it was all about, hey, I got this many people to fill the seats, and I did this and I did that, and I am so great. Now, you couldn't have told me that at the time, but that's what was happening. Now, what I discovered is my big fat dream, and what got me where I was that behind all of that, the words that I wrote for the workshops that I did, the master classes that I did, the stories that I shared on Facebook and Instagram, and the presentations that I wrote, shifted people ever so much to make the next step in their life another step towards their greatness. That is what I believe I was called to do in this next season of my life. And so I now am, my big fat dream is using those words to affect that intrinsic change motivator within us. The way I look now is, even if I have one person that reads something that I wrote that says, "Thank you, I needed this today.
Yes.
My work is done." And I said during my 9 to 12 month spiritual sabbatical was, "God, I'm done doing it my way. My way hasn't been working for me at all. It's your way. And that's it." So from now on, every time I have something come to me, I say yes, yes, yes. You want me to be on a podcast?
I love
Yes.
it.
You want me to write something? Yes. Because I know that I now am working and staying in my oneness with my creator and saying, it's not my will, it's your will.
Awesome.
Which is leading me to my next step in my journey in my life, which is a pretty big one.
Yes, I love it. Oh my gosh. You know what? First of all, I just want to stop here and thank you for being so open. I mean, that's a lot of personal stuff going on in your life that, most people experience throughout their life, and you got it all piled on you in the, small span of a year's time. Right. So you were really being put to the test, and for you to,
Yes.
share with us, I very much appreciate you opening up and being so transparent. That's amazing. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
In this book, and actually in this particular chapter, John Maxwell quotes George Eliot. And George Eliot had a saying, it's never too late to be what you might have been. And I love that, because I got started as I'm sliding into my 50th birthday a few years ago. I was like, gosh, man, why didn't I learn this stuff earlier? But it's never too late. And so some of our greatest stretching seasons come when we do what we've never done before and make ourselves really get uncomfortable. So you've talked about a lot of them. And so my next question was going to be, what are your most memorable growing seasons? But it sounds like you've shared a lot of them. Are there any other ones that stand out to you, a growing season where you found yourself doing things that you just weren't?
Well, I think, I've had some pretty, here's a big one, and it's coming. It's happening right now. So your question is very timely, because so I talked about how I was pregnant at 17 and became, this teen mom. I dropped out of high school, married because, our parents told us we had to get married, and my husband at the time joined the Air Force. And so we moved, packed up our little baby blue Volkswagen Rabbit with a new baby, newly married. Husband got home from basic training, and we went to Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana. So, certainly that was a big growth area for me. But because of that experience, I never got to make a decision for just me until this year. And I have two girls, and my oldest, as I mentioned, is 33, and my other one is 26. They're both married. I've got two grandbabies, a third one on the way.
Awesome.
And talk about a big growth with grandbabies. Oh my goodness. But, here's what's happening is I got Paul Martinelli contacted me and said, Jill, I have this position that I think is perfect for, and it's the creative director for the John Maxwell Team. I need you here in Jupiter, and I need you here April 1st. And are you open? I'm going, yes, of course I'm open.
Yes.
Because remember, God, your will, not mine. There's a reason why Paul's asking me to come work for him. So of course I said yes right away. Didn't even think about it. And then a couple of days later, I kind of went, I'm moving to Jupiter, Florida, from my comfy little place in St. Paul, and my nice little lake life house that I have up on Bone Lake, Wisconsin, that I've been going to for probably 50 years. And oh my gosh. And I have a coach. I believe every coach needs to have a coach. You got to walk the talk.
Yep.
And the very first thing I said, I called Cheryl. I need a phone call. So got on the phone with one of my coaches, and what she helped me become aware of is I've never made a decision for it. for just me. Like,
Oh,
I didn't have to consider anybody else
wow.
in the decision that I made. Now, most people do that when they're like graduating high school and the parents go, okay, so, you know, you're done. You kind of got to leave. So what would you like to do for you? And would you like to go to college? Would you like to go to work and get your own apartment or whatever? But go do your own life and make your own decisions for just you. I didn't get to do that. I missed that part of life because I was a mom and a wife first.
Yeah.
So I literally am sitting in some really uncomfortable time right now. I'm at my lake home right now, actually, on my last, like, this is my last night here until who knows when.
Oh,
And this is typically the season when, you know, I'm getting ready. The weather's starting to turn warm. I'm looking out at the lake. It's still frozen, but I'm like, okay, the dock's going to go out and, you know, and I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be here. And I'm starting a new chapter of my life in Jupiter. And holy cow, I am being stretched. I love it. Because I am discovering so much more about myself. And some of it I don't like, Greg, because it's stuff that I thought I had worked through before. And surprisingly enough, it's rearing its ugly head again.
yeah.
So it's almost like I'm being reminded that we're never done. And you never really, quote unquote, get over stuff. Like, you know, you can do this work and dive in, but there's still going to be some aspects of our conditioning and programming that will always be with us.
Yeah.
And I now am able to say, thank you, and I'm okay. I don't need you to tell me that I need to be scared right now of moving to Jupiter, because I'm perfectly safe. I have a great group of friends that I'm going to be with. You know what I mean? It's now I get to thank it for its work that it does for me, that voice, instead of despising it and having it cause tension. I go, thank you, but I don't need you right now. I'm good. So that's my biggest, you know, right now in the present moment is a really great uncomfortable zone that I'm in.
That's a huge season right now. I love it because, you know, I hope everybody listens to this lesson, because it's opening yourself up and being able to say yes to these things that propel people forward. You know, my wife and I were in the same boat sort of as you this time last year when she was offered a job and it required us to leave everything behind and move to northern Italy. And here we are living in Italy, and we sold everything we owned, our cars, our furniture. We have a little 5-foot by 15-foot storage shed with pictures and tools, and that's about it. We mailed our clothes over here in boxes, but we were ready to say yes to those opportunities. And not worry about those things. And so same with you, is here you're getting ready to make this big move down to Jupiter and be a Floridian transplant. I love it. So
thank you. The biggest thing too, Greg, that I'm discovering about it is, you know, so often in the growth process, we set ourselves up with some expectations. And I'm learning that we must simply remain open. We must remain open to all possibilities.
I agree.
Instead of saying, oh, when I get there, you know, it's going to be X, Y, Z. Sometimes the intentionality behind being intention is that we simply remain open to all possibilities, knowing that if we are staying in connection with Source, in our oneness, that whatever things come our way, that is what we're supposed to be experiencing at that moment,
Yeah.
instead of having these built up expectations. So that was another big awareness for me in this growth process, and a great reminder for me to go, you know what, Jill, you got to start writing some of this stuff down. I don't know if this is going to be a book. I don't know if the last couple of years are going to be a workshop or some other piece of content that I get to write that'll affect change in others. Never doubt or second guess the work that you're doing. It's exactly what you're supposed to be doing at that moment.
You know what? We couldn't have even wrapped this up on a better note. My last question was going to be, what advice would you give to people so they get out of your comfort zone? And you just wrapped it up in a nice little bow.
You know, what can I say?
You're so good. I love this. So, you know what? I know you're making the move to Florida and you're starting this new position with the John Maxwell team. So what's going to happen with your business and what's your next thing with that?
So I'm really super excited. I'm right now, my website is being redesigned, and I am focusing on helping entrepreneurs with creative content marketing. And so we take a look at their business and the platform that they are on, and we create a content strategy, calendar marketing strategy that will take them, if they want to, over the course of a year. And we do it in 90-day increments. And I believe I've had lots of marketing and sales experience in my background prior to becoming a forensic psychologist. And I love what Mike Kim, who does marketing work with the John Maxwell team, said. Marketing is all about creating the relationship, right? It's not about a sale. It's about creating a relationship.
Yes.
And then I follow up and say, and content marketing is maintaining that relationship. So I'm on a mission now, because I'm doing that with the John Maxwell team as well. So a lot of the content that you're seeing out there is stuff that I've written. And so I'm watching it work, and I know it worked for me. I built my mailing list when I first started my John Maxwell team business. I had absolutely zero people on a mailing list. I mean, why would I have people on a mailing list? Yes. And within 3 years, I had over 10,000 people on my mailing list. So I know how to do it. I've made it work for me. And now I am in a fantastic position to help other entrepreneurs do the same thing, that they can grow their business through the use of content marketing and maintaining that relationship with their clients.
Oh, wow. That's exciting. So, I know there's going to be lots of people that are going to want to reach out and contact you or connect with you on this, including myself. I'm just right there. So this is just like, gratuitous, really. So, how could somebody connect with you if they want to reach out and talk to you more about maybe being a client of yours to do this? How could they do that?
Yeah, so I give free consultations, and you can just email me, jill@jillandanderson.com. You can also find me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Jill Ann Anderson. Private message me. Feel free to use either one of those platforms for the time being until my website is up and running. My website is up and running right now, but it's my old website. We haven't switched over to my new website yet. That should be coming within the next week or two. But yeah, just give me a call or through Facebook Messenger, or send me an email. That'll be the best way to get a hold of me as I make the big move to Jupiter.
I love it. I hope the move goes great for you. And I just want to thank you once again so much for your time in the midst of a huge life event, and for giving us your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It's my honor. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. I loved it. And I want to thank all of you that are watching this watch party on Facebook. I appreciate your support. Hey, listen, I'm going to be back here again next week, same place, same time, and I'm going to be chatting with Nellie Escondary Gomez. Nellie and I grew up in Daytona Beach together, and we just recently reconnected a couple of years ago during her pursuit of personal and professional growth. She has grown exponentially over the last year. And so I have asked her to come join me to talk about the law of curiosity. She's nailing it and she's growing because of it. So I cannot wait to meet back up with my lifelong friend. And I hope you all can join us. But until then, remember, be powerful, but stay poised just like a lion. See you later, everybody.
Like a lion.
Like a lion.
Bye.